Joining us now, Senator Bill Hagerty from Center for Relations. Senator, it's so good to have you back on. First, we've got The Hill reporting Democrats are in panic mode. The president's plunging in the polls again. He's making mistakes. Watch what happened this weekend and today. Watch.
Genocide? No, I think it is a war crime.
And I'm deeply proud of the work she's doing as First Lady with Joining Forces initiative. She started with Michelle Obama when she was vice president and now carries on.
Okay, calls Michelle Obama vice president. Your reaction, the president, his mistakes, is it hurting policy here? He says genocide is not a war crime. It is a war crime. What do you think of what's going on?
I think the White House needs to be extraordinarily careful right now. Liz, you know, I served as a diplomat in President Trump's administration. I was the U.S. ambassador to Japan. Our words do matter. The United States is the most exceptional and the strongest nation in the world. Everyone in the world is listening right now, particularly to our leader. Joe Biden needs to be far more careful about what he does because he's becoming a national security risk when he speaks out of turn as he does, when he gets things wrong as he does. He's putting our nation at risk and our allies as well.
You know, we've got the president at 36% in the Quinnipiac poll, 39% in Marist. You know this too, Senator. I mean, the president's been there since the Nixon administration. Nixon, Ford, and Carter, severely damaged by an energy crisis that became worse amid international turmoil. But now Democrats saying, we got to win the midterms. Biden needs to do more executive actions. What more executive actions are we going to see? He's already undercut U.S. energy with them, and Putin is making a lot of money. We haven't, we've exempted Russia's oil from the sanctions. So what do you think is going to come out of more executive actions?
I think the American public is a lot smarter than the Biden administration and the Democrat leadership here in Washington seem to believe. As you say, the American public knows that the Biden administration has essentially underwritten Vladimir Putin's war in Ukraine because we've allowed them to have such a massive windfall, again, thanks to the war that Biden has declared on American energy. He destroyed our energy independence from the day he came into office. He's the one that's responsible for precipitating this massive price hike. Now he's trying to blame it on Putin. They're going to bring in CEOs from oil companies this week to try to blame it on them. Again, they're great at trying to play the blame game, but I think the American public is too smart for this. So if they go after executive orders, again, we'll be calling this out. They're just looking at the polls and trying to react. Everything they do will probably last just until about November of this year. So we'll see what happens.
You know, we have a just horrific war. What Putin is doing is just an outrage, right? That this is happening again. What he's doing to innocent civilians and citizens of Ukraine, it's just horrific. And then so your point's well taken about getting in line and getting focused on what the messaging is. But the media is now not buying Biden and Pelosi's line about what's coming out. Half the gas price hike, for example, came under Biden before Putin invaded. Let's watch what's happening with this. Watch this.
Americans just don't buy that this is related to the war in Ukraine, and most of it, frankly, is not. The White House is trying to do both blame Putin, blame the oil and gas companies, but Americans just don't agree.
Is the administration prepared to deal with the problems that go on their plate? And it just seems that so often with the administration thus far, it is much more about wish casting than it is preparation. Wish casting about inflation, right? It's going to be transitory. Wish casting that we're going to get Manchin, we're going to get cinema. They're going to just come around eventually.
Your reaction, Senator?
Yeah, it's just more evidence that this administration leads by press release. They don't think about the second and third order effect of what they're doing. And again, they're letting the far, far radical left of their party drive them and steer them in the direction. If they go after these executive orders to, again, implement their Green New Deal agenda, what they couldn't get done in the Build Back Better that was defeated here, they're going to push the American public further and further away from them. That's why their poll numbers are dropping.
You know, the other thing, too, is the Democrats are misleading. You know, Buttigieg, Granholm, the vice president, is saying, we need electric vehicles. We need more electricity, electric gadgets. 2/3 of electricity is powered by fossil fuels. We do not have the system built out yet for what they want to do. They would need to double electric output, which, again, is fueled by nat gas, coal, and fossil fuels to get what they want. I mean, gas is so bad, people in border states are driving across the border to Mexico to fill up. And the other thing, too, is, Senator, the IMF is warning that the dollar could lose its place at the center of the economic solar system. Russia and China is watching this. The dollar is the world's reserve currency. World trade is done in U.S. dollars. China is doing big oil for yuan deals in the Mideast, Africa, and Asia to knock out, the U.S. dollar. What do you think?
I think China's watching every aspect of what we're seeing right now. And if you talk about the hypocrisy of the left, these electric vehicle pushes. Look, I'm from Tennessee. We have the largest electric utility in America, the Tennessee Valley Authority right there. We don't have the infrastructure. You know, Liz, just the other day I saw Tesla with a bumper sticker on the back. It said, powered by coal. This is just hypocrisy here in America. But the Chinese are watching all of this, and they're going to take any advantage they can. They're looking long term. They're looking over the horizon and trying to find ways to supplant us. We need to wake up and keep our eye on that ball.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Because, Senator, you know, China's doing the big Belt and Road Initiative. Their push is to do the infrastructure build out with their currency, and it could damage the U.S. dollar. Yes. Let's watch Hillary Clinton and Pete Buttigieg here. Watch this.
The real challenge on the energy front is to do everything we can to help Europe wean itself off. You know, when I was Secretary of State, I started something called the U.S.-EU Energy Council, and I'll admit, I had a hard sell with our European friends that I kept saying, look what Russia's already done, because at that point they'd already used energy as a blunt force for power over Ukraine and Eastern Europe.
Even if all of the oil we use in the USA were made in the USA, the price of it is still subject to powers and dynamics outside of the USA, which means that until we achieve a form of energy independence that is based on clean energy created here at home, American citizens will still be vulnerable to wild price hikes like we're seeing right now.
Okay, Senator Clinton, first of all, sounds like she's suddenly pro-U.S. energy. And then you have Pete Buttigieg saying he's so out of touch with the far left, not knowing what they're talking about. Wouldn't electricity continue to be volatile if we can, you know, basically what they're doing is trying to button down and get the U.S. all on green energy when they haven't built out the system? We could have rolling blackouts like we saw in California.
Indeed. I wonder what Hillary Clinton would say about about the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. You think about the fact that the Biden administration has given Russia even a greater geopolitical weapon over Europe. And the Europeans that she's so worried about, the EU, has been free because we've subsidized them through NATO. They've been free to trade with whom they want. Guess what? They traded with Russia. They've become dependent on them. We should step up and focus on America and what makes America strong first. We should put ourselves in a position where we can offset Putin's great advantage with far cleaner fossil fuel industry than what's being pumped out of Russia. This is so hypocritical. Yeah,
I'm telling you, the radical left, they've got to stop it right now. We're in the middle of a war. Yep. And what they're doing is ripping apart the fabric of this country with their rhetoric, their divisiveness, when this is the greatest country in the world because of the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and our systems of laws that protect people. That's what they need to stand up and fight for. Senator Hagerty, it's good to have you on. Come back soon.